Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by AJ Hafley. Going to be getting into some of the Avs competition today in the Central Division, at least, as well. Let's face it, the Avs actually have to play in a real division this season. So, you know, they might have to actually pay attention to things and not get to play San Jose 7 times. We'll get into all
Upside?
that.
Downside?
On what?
Not playing California 7 times each?
I mean, both sides. Little A, little B. Upside is there aren't a bunch of 8:30 starts.
I guess it was eight times.
Was it 8 times?
Yeah, it was 7 teams 8 times.
I thought it was. Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. Still, that's way too many.
Picking nits.
It's too many.
Yeah. Yeah, such a tough division.
Yeah, the toughest to not lose your mind, perhaps.
Yeah, because there were all the California games and then Arizona, which
A whole lot of bad.
Yeah. The Avs have owned Arizona pretty good. So
Well, they still get to do that in division this year. So.
yeah. That part transfers. That's nice. That plays.
On our list of threats, Arizona in the Central Division is
It's
probably at the bottom.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
So, no Vegas this year. Do we each, let's just start, I guess, top and bottom. Do we each have Colorado still at the top?
I do.
Okay, I do too. Even my trying to find the pessimism, I'm like, it would take a major injury to a key player.
Yep.
Or multiple for it to be... for me to go outside Colorado to win the division.
Look, I think there are other teams that are going to be competitive in the division. I don't think any of them are as good as Colorado.
That's the thing, is that the Colorado's combination of defensive depth and offensive firepower and just elite talent is just too good. And the possibility that Darcy Kemper lives up to his potential is too good. So I think that's why Colorado is viewed at the top. And on the bottom, Arizona. They're rebuilding. This is the right stuff for them. And that's a pun because right is spelled with a W. Because it's all about this year is all about Shane Wright.
Yep.
They've got 8 picks in the first 2 rounds, and really the one that they need most is number 1 overall. They get number 1 overall and they get Shane Wright. Their franchise changes overnight. That was an unfortunate rhyme, but
I think it was fortunate.
They're hoping it's fortunate because they've had horrific lotto luck, and if they finally, there are more guardrails in place for them being awful this year. It's 2015 all over again because they've got competition from Buffalo at the bottom of the standings once again.
No Edmonton this time, but yeah.
And they can only drop so far now.
Yeah, they can only fall to 3.
But, in 2015, there was McDavid, and then there was Eichel.
Yep.
And then the Arizona at 3, you would think, in an all-time great draft.
They end up with Dylan Strome.
We were talking about the top 10 of that draft last night in the postgame. And Dylan Strome
at 3 sticks out like a sore thumb, kind of.
Dylan Strome, Noah Hannafin, and Pavel Zacha are the 3 of that top 10 that are not like studs. So it's Arizona's trying to get that first overall. They've got Colorado's first round pick. I don't remember who other first round pick they have. It might be the Islanders.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
I can't remember all the picks from all the teams that they ended up with. So I'm sure somebody will have it for us. But
yeah.
Anyway, they have 8 picks in the top 2 rounds, which would be an NHL record if they used all of them. They're rebuilding, and they're doing a great job of it. They're spending a bunch of money on a bad roster.
Yeah, there's
on old expiring deals.
There's no mistake that they're not trying to be good this year.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, you're rolling like Antoine Roussel and Jay Beagle and Louis Eriksson, and I didn't mean to just start with all the Vancouver cast-offs. That's just what came to mind. And then Andrew Ladd and all these guys.
Yep. I mean, it's the preseason, but when you're rolling out Barrett Hayton as your 1C.
We don't even really know, like Nick Schmaltz might be their actual 1C. Right. Like whoever ends up getting that job is not going to be equipped for it. Mm-hmm. So
glad we're not PHNX right now. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. PHNX is actually in a pretty you remember what it was like covering a rebuilding team.
I started my YouTube channel in 16-17. So.
But remember, 16-17 wasn't supposed to go that way.
I know.
That was not a year where they tore it down to the studs, and it was like, okay, this is a great draft class. Here are the guys to keep an eye on. Remember, going into that year, Cale Makar wasn't a guy that anybody was talking about.
He was like a mid to late first type of guy.
Like he was like this could be a guy.
Yeah.
And then same as Nico Hischier. And then as that year went on, because Nolan Patrick and Timothy Liljegren had the problems that they did, it opened up that floor, and the rest is Avalanche history. But that's what Arizona's hoping for, is that they have a Colorado-esque
48
influx of talent based on getting lucky in the right draft.
Yeah.
It's not just being bad and getting a high pick. You got to get lucky with the draft class, and then you got to make the right pick.
That's true. I
mean, like everybody talks about Edmonton with the 3 first-rounders, but Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Nail Yakupov, and Taylor Hall
didn't do that well.
Like, how different is that if the 2 of those 3 years is Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews?
Yeah. I mean, and like for a first overall pick, right?
Yeah.
You got, obviously, Nail Yakupov is a complete disaster. Taylor Hall is a very, very good player, but for a first overall pick, is he elite? Well, he never quite got to that level. And then Nuge, obviously, has been a very solid option for them, but has never really been a first-line player. So...
Yeah, and, like, he is, like, a good top 6 guy.
Yeah, and look, the contract they got him on, I think, is fantastic. They've done good things with some of these guys. But when you're talking about first-rounders, particularly first overall picks, if you don't hit a home run with that pick, it's going to hurt you. Yeah,
and you look at the 14 draft as a pretty good example of this. Good, like, solid players.
Yep.
Like Sam Reinhart and Sam Bennett and, like Morgan Riley, all the defensemen in that top 10, good players.
But not ballers.
Yeah, it's were there franchise-altering players in that top 10? We talk about 2016. 2016's top 10 has ended up, as we've gone on, has ended up kind of disastrous.
Yeah.
Like Austin Matthews is on his way to being one of the great goal scorers in NHL history.
But even
the Habs, that's the other first rounder. Okay.
Even Laine has had his problems.
Well, and Laine looked like he was going to be a generational goal scorer, taking a big step back.
Yep.
Pierre-Luc Dubois has taken a big step back. Jesse Puljujarvi just becoming an NHL player at all has been
an adventure,
an advance over what it was.
Yeah.
Oleg Ulevi is still proving himself. Matthew Tkachuk is the second best player in that class right now.
Yep.
That's not a tough. Like Clayton Keller's okay. Mikhail Sergachev is a solid player. Tyson Jost's a decent depth guy. Alex Nylander's a nightmare. So that top 10 is just not good.
It's full of landmines.
And this is where Arizona has its problems. Where you're nervous about it. We all look at Arizona and said, great offseason. Because they set themselves up for a chance at a good future. But they still have to make the picks, and they still have to get a little bit lucky along the way. How good is this draft class actually going to be?
They end up picking 3rd, 12th, and 31st or whatever.
And we look at we talk about the 2017 draft a lot because was that a star-studded draft? In hindsight, yes. But going into it
didn't feel
it was like
that. Yeah.
Nico Hischier and Nolan Patrick, oh my gosh, these guys are studs. And then Miro Heiskanen and Cale Makar ascended as the year went on.
Yep.
And all good. Brad Lambert's finish.
Yeah.
And also not off to a good start this year. But it's 2017. You look at the 3 best players from that draft were 3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
With Heiskanen, Makar, and Elias Pettersson.
Yeah.
And Elias Pettersson wasn't even like the clear, going into that draft class, was not the clear-cut best Swedish player. because Elias Anderson was also very, very well liked.
Who got picked at the end of the first and has not lived up to anything.
He got picked 7th overall.
Yeah.
Like, he gets picked 2 picks later after Pettersson. Couldn't be different. Couldn't have different career arcs.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, that draft class is full of a bunch of stuff. You have Cody Glass and all of that, too. And
yeah. You want to talk about bad lotto luck?
Yeah.
You're an expansion team that gets the 6th pick? That's rough. How different is Vegas's history if they get a top 5 pick and they have one of Pettersson, Makar, or Heiskanen with how their franchise has gone?
I mean, we get into the what ifs on this show a lot, but you're talking about, does Pietrangelo ever even end up in Vegas?
They have just drop Pettersson in there instead?
Yeah. And they have a proper center, I guess. Pettersson plays center, right?
Yeah. He's a high-end center at that.
I was thinking of...
Yeah, so Pettersson in between Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty for them?
That line is disgusting. Yeah. We'll get to... we can talk about the Avs news now before we properly get into the threats.
I didn't see this tweet until I got here, but I did some digging, and from what it sounds like, Frankie's okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously this tweet from Arif Dean of Mile High Sports that said that he saw him this morning coming out of a juice place with no brace or anything on
I don't know if it was
or
like
a boot or anything.
If it was like above the knee thing, I don't know what a boot would really do, to be honest. But
you would have some kind of something. So.
Yeah. So Anyway, the positive signs sound like it's not anything serious, at least for Frankie.
Yeah. I mean, it's still to be determined, but it's great that Arif saw him just out and about.
Yeah.
If he was in serious trouble, he would
in a
not just be
hospital somewhere or something.
Yeah. So that's great. And from my own, it sounded like he was. They dodged a bullet there.
Yep.
So encouraging for now. But anyway, the Arizona. The reason we're talking all these draft classes and all this is just to talk about Arizona trying to set themselves up for the future, because this year they're going to be brutal to watch and sit through.
Yeah.
Just not fun.
Yeah, it's going to be
some bad hockey.
If you ever need hockey
like crab in
therapy, can't really smell it. If you ever need hockey therapy, the PHNX podcast will be one big therapy session this whole season, I think. So maybe I'll pop in for a couple of those. But
dude,
P.S.
We're so bored already with the draft class with the Avs punting on it.
Yeah,
we've already offered to do all of their draft stuff next year.
For when it don't be surprised to see AJ and I in Arizona this offseason, just doing draft stuff for PHNX because
come draft night we're gonna be on their set in an office building
somewhere in downtown Phoenix.
Yeah. Oh jeez, we're just gonna co-op their stuff and all right, great coverage all year.
We got it from here.
We got this.
Let's talk about Brad Lambert. Okay. A little bit of other Avs news. A bunch of guys on waivers today. Generally, the veteran forwards, Mateau, Sakura, Sherwood.
And then there was
McEwen as well. Nothing too surprising here. I think encouraging, though, because Bowers isn't cut. Kaut's not cut. Ranta's not cut.
Well, we don't know
none of these guys have been cut yet. It's just waivers.
They just, because those guys are all waiver exempt, we don't know that they have actually been cut. They have not announced transactions for the day. And I say that, but I'm totally going to double check and make sure
they
lying.
Didn't just send them out. But
oh my gosh.
The implication of putting these guys on waivers is that they're shortly going to send them down to the AHL. So as far as if you're rooting for the young kids to get a little bit of opportunity, so far today it's been a good sign.
Yeah.
Now,
it continues to trend in the right direction, because you say, what are the veteran concerns?
Yep.
It's Jason Megna and Artem Anisimov are really it.
The only two.
Otherwise, you're talking Sampo Ranta, Shane Bowers,
Martin Kaut,
and Logan O'Connor and Mikhail Maltsev all are still hanging around. Now, O'Connor I include in there just because he's a youngish guy, but is a point is that it is they are trending in that direction towards going the way that we wanted with looking towards the youth. Alex Newhook as well.
Sure. And Newhook probably a little bit closer to an actual NHL roster spot there. But
yeah, but lack of being punted is important there.
Definitely. If you missed it just before the show, we did drop our second episode of our season preview, which covers all of this forward depth. So go watch that after you're done here if you didn't catch it.
It was the perfect lead-in to us talking about other teams entirely.
Yep.
It's very good planning on our part.
Yeah, we really covered it well, but the Avs depth is interesting this year. I'll put it that way, and I'll let that video do the rest of the talking on that one.
Definitely. And we talked about it a lot last night.
We did. I think. Can you hover your mouse over the screen real quick? All right, good. My internal clock is improving. We're getting there.
I knew we were in that range.
Yeah. We are brought to y'all by Breckenridge Brewery. I got an Avalanche right here. Go check them out at your local liquor store, or come on down to the DNVR bar where we got 8 different kinds on tap for you to drink. They're absolutely delicious. We also have the Good Company hard seltzers here. If you want to drink candy alcohol, that's what we got right here. Are you going to put that crown on him? All right. I see how it is. All right, chat.
Oh, I got to stop moving.
We're fighting now. That's how it's going to be. But get your Breck Brew. Go drink it. Have a good time. We'll be drinking it here. Oh, by the way, once the regular season starts, we got a little new thing going on at the bar. We got the shot wheel. So every Avs game at the bar, we're going to have a wheel with like a bunch of things written on it. It'll be like, I don't know, Nathan McKinnon hat trick, or
it'll be a thing that we spin the thing and we spin the wheel, and if it hits, then everybody at the bar gets.
It'll land on some game event, and if it happens, everyone gets a shot at the bar.
So free stuff.
You're gonna want to be at the watch parties here at the bar.
So about the Jack Johnson thing, I'm not sure where that came from. From what I have been told so far, there have not been any contract conversations of any kind yet. So,
yep.
We're all still expecting him to get signed, just from what I was told a few days ago.
It's not as imminent as
there have not been.
Some have made it seem, yeah.
Yeah, and you never know. Like, that's not a very complicated contract to get done, where you say, hey, 1 year, $850K, or whatever the number ends up being, and then you just agree to it and move on. There doesn't need to be structure to that.
$1 million or less anywhere in there, basically.
Well, I mean, we expect Blues fans to be at home doing a lot of crying this year.
Yeah.
Which leads us to our next team, because second to last.
I think it's probably St. Louis. Yeah.
Do you really? Because I don't. I was totally just kidding. I
mean, who else? Would Nashville then?
I have no read on Nashville.
Okay.
This is the one team in the entire division. I don't know how to feel about them.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. My one thing is I think they got worse this offseason.
I love Phil Myers.
He's not.
Okay. But Phil Myers is not Ryan Ellis.
Yeah.
He's just not Ryan Ellis.
Yeah. I
Hold
don't.
on, let me see this list. Winnipeg, Dallas, St. Louis, Blackhawks. Why Blackhawks? Why not just Chicago?
Chicago and Minnesota are way too low there for me.
And then why Coyotes? Why not Arizona? You just switch between team name and...
I do that all the time. I'm not going to call them out for it.
I wonder, like, mentally why that is.
That's just how you think of teams, right?
You know what? I wonder why that is.
Yeah. It's just the way they're ingrained into your brain. I don't know.
So...
I do
the
not
Blues,
have St. Louis making the playoffs this year.
Okay, let's talk about Nashville, just because
sure. We're in the Nashville room. All right.
Yeah,
all right.
We're in the Nashville room, which is where we can't see each other and we don't know where we're going.
The lights are off.
But we spent a shitload of money to get here, and none of this has worked so far. It's like an escape room with no exit. That's what the Nashville Predators feel like right now. An escape room with no exit, where they forgot a clue. They forgot, like, the first clue to help you get out of it, and you're just like, this puzzle is impossible.
You're walking around and you are either gonna like bump into Roman Yossi and he's gonna give you a nice warm hug and everything's great, or you're going to walk into one of their 6 wildly overpaid forwards and they're gonna punch you in the face.
Rude. If one of their 6 highly overpaid forwards punches me in the face, we're fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go get Dennis Gilbert to fight for me in a trial by combat in which he is my proxy, because I'm not doing that myself.
I wouldn't win if I had to.
Yeah, I tend to think that Ryan Johansson might actually beat me up. But if I have Dennis Gilbert fighting for me, that guy's going down.
I'm struggling to think of a hockey player that wouldn't beat me up.
Rocco Grimaldi.
Yeah, I guess I could kind of just like pin him with my weight probably, but
I did not struggle. Alex DeBrincat.
DeBrincat's shifty though.
Cole Caulfield.
Yeah, Caulfield would be an easy one. You're right.
Alex Turcotte, just because if you touch him, he breaks.
Wow. All right, you said it, not me. So Nashville.
Johnny Gaudreau would be another one. Now we're talking about guys we can beat up.
It's that kind of show today.
Yeah.
All right. Nashville.
Look, I'm curious your answer. Is UC Saros for real or just had a hot streak to finish last year? Because you know how I feel.
I do.
I have been the juice is loose for a long time.
I'm not as convinced as you, but I don't think last year was just a hot streak. Let me put it that way.
I don't think it'll end up being a huge anomaly, but I do think it'll be on the high end of what he's capable of. Especially because I think the team in front of him got worse defensively.
Yeah, no doubt about that, I would say. But it's not like yes, they lost Ryan Ellis, but their defense is still high end. You're not? Top 10 in the league.
Ekholm, Yossi, Fabro,
and Myers is not Ellis, but he's still good.
And then it's like walking down Colfax. It's just bums.
Yeah, the depth is not there, sure, but your top 4 is going to play a billion minutes a night for them.
Yeah,
anyway,
but the downgrade from they had like a big 3, right? They had a 3-headed monster on defense with Yossi, Ekholm, and Ellis.
Yeah.
And I love Phil Myers, but Phil Myers is just like a second pairing defender.
I agree.
Like he's just a solid defenseman, but he's not a stud. And Ryan Ellis was a stud. And I just think that Nashville is the team that I think they're likeliest for a fall here. If I have to pick a 7th place team, I think I'm going to go with the Preds.
I still lean St. Louis, but Preds would be right there at 6 for me. So I'd have no strong argument against Nashville falling off a cliff. We'll put it that way.
See, I don't know about falling off a cliff, but I guess that's perception, right? I think the Coyotes are at the bottom of this division with 55 points.
And then there's a big gap.
And then I think Nashville's at like maybe 72.
It's less of a cliff and more like they've been going down a hill and there's a drop now.
Yeah.
But you're correct there. Arizona is going to be the first or second worst team in the entire league.
Mm-hmm. So. And then I think Nashville's probably like 7th or 8th.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm comfortable with that argument.
Okay.
I'm curious where you have St. Louis. Do you think they're going to be bad, or do you think they're going to compete for a wild card spot?
I think defensively they're going to be the worst defensive Blues team that we have seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Torrey Krug decline is real. I think Colton Parayko is in over his head. I think that Justin Falk's rebound last year was a mirage. And I think that all these guys, I just think that they're... But I think this is the most electric offensive Blues group in a long, long time. I really like their forward core because I'm counting on Robert Thomas to take the big step finally, who I've been a big believer in for a long time. I think Jordan Kyrou is for real. I think Buchnevich.
I do like the Buchnevich.
I think Buchnevich is a great addition. I really like some of their depth guys. If they can stay healthy. I really, really, really like their depth guys, like the Oscar Sundquists of the world, because they're perfect for St. Louis's identity, where they're not overwhelmingly talented, but they're really effective at what they do. And I think it's just a sea of 30-point guys. And then I think they have the possibility to be truly a very, very good top 6 that pushes Winnipeg.
I mean, my big question here is, as some people in chat are saying, what happens with Tarasenko?
Yeah, well, and I'm buying Tarasenko stock. As much as I'm buying that Parayko can't handle the job, I'm buying that Tarasenko is about to go ham this year.
Okay.
I think he's gonna be good, and O'Reilly and Perron. Like if Perron's decline starts to actually hit,
they're in trouble.
Look, between Saad and Buchnevich and what I think is going to be a good Tarasenko, and then Thomas and Kyle, like this is a forward core that I really, really like. And when you have Ryan O'Reilly, you have the ultimate ace in the hole, because if you somehow get a decent, like a low end 1C out of Robert Thomas, then you can start using Ryan O'Reilly as the world's greatest 2C. And then the big question is, defensively, I don't think they're very good. And I don't think Jordan Binnington and Ville Husso are going to do it.
I think their goaltending is a disaster.
And I don't think it's a disaster. I think that their goaltending is okay. Because I think Binnington is an average starter. And then I really, really think Ville Husso is not very good. But I think that top 9 is going to get... I think that top 9 is good enough, especially a bunch of two-way guys. I think that their top 9 especially, and I've always really liked their depth guys, is going to be good enough to win them games. They're going to be like Winnipeg last year without Connor Hellebuck. So I think they're a little bit worse than last year's Winnipeg.
I don't have as much faith that you're going to get as many career years out of guys, especially the Kyrous of the world, as you do. But I just don't see even a low-end starter out of Binnington. I just think he's not good enough, and I think...
Oh, I think he's an average starter. I think he's an average starter whose downs are really bad.
It's like a poor man's Jake Allen. Like, yes, when he's hot, it's great, but when he's not hot, it's unplayable.
What? What?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Disagree.
Okay.
I just think that he's better than that. Logan Brown's not going to make that team. Logan Brown blows.
As much as I loved him in his draft year,
Patrick Waugh
hasn't been a thing. So
Logan Brown is so soft. There's no way he makes the Blues.
He doesn't fit the Blues mold at all. That's for sure.
There's no way he makes the Blues playing that soft. So unless they get something out of him that he has never shown in his entire life, I don't give a shit about Logan Brown. But I do think I think they're good enough to win games and be competitive. I have them 6th.
Okay, despite that, you still have them 6th. Okay.
Because I think that they're a worse version of last year's Jets. I really like the forward core, but I think they have a similarly not good defense, and I think that their goaltending is worse because they don't have Bucky.
I think you just broke Nighthawk's heart by saying all that and then putting them in 6th. But
I think their offensive attack is going to be actually fun to watch for the first time in a long time. They're not going to be like, okay, well, they've got to go forward check, and then they've got to try and turn the puck over, and then they've just got to try and slap one out of the air, and it'll find its way into the back of the net. I think that they are going to be really fun offensively. But I think that they are in for a big shock on defense. I think that they're going to take a big step back defensively. In my opinion, I think it's just the Blues identity as we know it. I think is about to collapse.
It was what you saw, and I know they were dealing with some injuries and a shifting defense this year. But what you saw out of Colton Parayko to me was extremely concerning.
It was
for the future of their defense.
Concern.
He's not Alex Pietrangelo, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, we can we'll have to wait and see on the rest of that. Yes, I see. We'll get there in a second. I do want to get to your next team really quick before we go there. Your 5th place team.
And
I know things get jumbled in this area real quick.
Yeah. I've got Dallas.
Okay.
And this is mostly they survived last year with some career years.
Yeah.
That were really percentage driven. And I think their goaltending is a total mess. If Ben Bishop were healthy, I would feel good about it, but I think Khudobin is at the age where you're like, the cliff could be coming, and then they got Braden Holtby. The cliff is there. He's off it.
He was bad last year. Yeah,
the cliff. He's off it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about Braden Holtby like, it's now been, it's 2 bad years. Now it's 3 bad years. Now it's 4 bad years. Like, at some point when you're going to be like, well, he's bad now.
Well, and that's the other part of this, and we have had this conversation at least for the last 2 years. How long can their old guys keep doing it? Look, Joe Pavelski has had a renaissance in his career.
Pavelski and Radulov and you know,
Jamie Benn isn't young anymore,
right? And how their high end, like, they play to their identity extremely well, and that's the thing that they do at a very high level. And Radek Faksa and Rupe Hintz and guys like that.
They have some encouraging young guys,
definitely
for sure.
Fit wonderfully there. And it's just, you have to expect at least one of these old guys to smash into the old guy wall at some point.
Yep.
Like, it's the only reason that they've been competitive is because they've just defied aging curves for the last couple of years.
Yep.
And very quietly, like Miro Heiskanen, we all really like him, but he's been a step below special. Last year was a very, very difficult year for the organization, so I don't want to put a lot of stock in there. But Heiskanen is a clear step below Quinn Hughes, Adam Fox, and Cale Makar for me. Well, I think Heiskanen is still...
That's the story of their entire defensive lineup, I think. They gave big money to Esa Lindell, and it's like, yes, he's a good defenseman, but he's not...
Oh, my God, that's my face.
He's not to the caliber of even a Devon Toews, if you're asking me.
No. I mean, ask any NHL GM, which one are you taking, Devon Toews or Esa Lindell?
Toews.
You'll get 32 Devon Toews. Even Dallas would be like, yep, we're good with that.
Yeah. So, and then the rest of their defense is kind of the Wild West, where you have guys like Klingberg.
Well, and Klingberg has very quietly taken some steps back.
Yep.
Klingberg and Nate Schmidt are 2 guys in the league right now that I think are living off of reputation more than reality, as guys who did some really good things a couple of years ago. And with Klingberg, if the decline continues and he gets even worse, problem. And if he stems the tide and he's just like he was last year, they're okay.
Yeah.
But they need him to be good because they've built a defenseman squad with
where
limited puck
to be the offensive
ability,
guy,
and it's Heiskanen and Klingberg that have to really move pucks.
Yeah.
And it just, if Klingberg takes another step back, they have a pretty big problem.
Yep. I'm
long term, I like Heiskanen over Quinn Hughes for the next 5 years, but through 2 years, I like Quinn Hughes.
Well, and you have situation too as well, right? As we kind of put, Heiskanen's a little bit on an island here in Dallas.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but anyway,
he's a really hard guy to evaluate because he is a guy that has such interesting offensive skill, and they're playing such an offensive
smothering system.
Yeah, they suppress their own offense. Yeah. So
no doubt about it. Well, in any case, if you're looking to get paid nicely, like Esa Lindell did, hit up the Ball Corporation because they're hiring right now in Golden at their
offering
plant.
6-year deals at $6 million.
I don't think they're going to pay you quite that much, but they do pay well. They give you a living wage.
I gotta go.
They also give you good benefits, and the coolest part is, especially for a lot of people who may be out of employment for a bit due to the pandemic and all of that, they do offer classes to help you fill out your resume so you can get holes in that filled, and then you're looking good. So check out Ball Corporation today. Again, you can text GOLDEN to 77222 or go to jobs.ball.com to get an application, get to work, and then, you could have some spending cash to do whatever you like with, including heading on over to DraftKings Sportsbook. Although, I guess you really don't need spending cash to play around on DraftKings Sportsbook, because if you put in $1 and bet it on any football game, you get $150 in free bets. So just put in $1, go play around with DraftKings, make yourself a ton of money. Come hang out at the bar like AJ and I did over the weekend. We just bet on college football all day.
That was such a good time, man. We got to do it again.
I'm saying.
We got to do it again. We got to get some of you guys to come down and hang out with us.
And we'll just fire bets off all day.
Yeah.
It'll be a blast.
We'll just start shouting. I mean, we'll do exactly what we did.
Yeah.
It'll just be with more people. We'll just shout at TVs.
UCF scores a random touchdown, and I'm like, yes! Let's go.
Cincinnati goes wire to wire on Notre Dame. Yeah. We're all over that game.
We're just pumped for the whole game.
Yeah, betting on overs so that every time we bet on the over in a game,
there's
we're just
an offensive score. It doesn't matter who it is.
Guy breaks into the open field and we're excited about it. It was a great time.
It was a blast.
It was a great time.
When you win some money there, DraftKings has you covered. You can deposit and withdraw at your convenience. Super easy. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Please use the DNVR code. That's how you get the $1 for $150 in free bets option on any NFL game. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. DraftKings is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And, of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. When you do withdraw a bunch of winnings from DraftKings, head on over to Salt's Meds. Get yourself some THC product to enjoy yourself a little bit more the next time.
That's right. Get yourself some product.
Yeah, a little bit of product. You get a free King Cone when you buy anything at the Wheat Ridge location. So free product even. Might as well. Why not jump in it? They have a bunch of deals in store ranging from 15 to 25% off on select products. And if you check out online for pickup, you can use code DNVR20 to get 20% off your entire purchase. So great deals all the way around for whatever cannabis needs you might have. Check them out. 4 locations here in Colorado, including one for y'all up north in Fort Collins. So they got you covered. Yeah, Salt's Meds is dope. All right. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Starting to get into the real proper competition for Colorado in this division here.
One guy I did not talk about with Dallas that I did want to point out was Ryan Suter.
Yeah.
Who I do think will help stabilize them. But again, you're talking about an old guy defying
and that one
aging curves.
That one is more of a like it'll be fine this year, but they signed him to a 4-year deal.
I'm not 100% sold it'll be fine this year. He started to take the step back last year that he had avoided most of his 30s.
Okay.
And I'm curious how much Dallas being in such a defensive system where
help him.
He doesn't have to try and push the offense as much. I wonder how that helps him. I also wonder where he is in a situation where he can't just demand to be on all special teams units. He's not going to be the guy all the time.
For sure.
And I just don't.
There's not going to be an overly
I don't know
amount
how he reacts on a personal level.
Sure. When he's not playing 30 minutes a night.
When he can't just sit there and be like, you play me all the time in every situation that I want. Oh, that certainly isn't true. Winnipeg did not improve at all possessions. We'll get there. So that was the other thing with Dallas, which dovetails perfectly into Minnesota.
Yeah.
Because I think they're next.
I can't put them behind Chicago. I can't do it.
The big thing with Minnesota, I want to know which young guys make the roster, which ones they roll with.
Sure.
Because there are going to be some young guys that I think help them more than others. If they really limit them, I have them at 4.
I just can't put them behind Chicago. I know we'll get to Chicago in a second, but
yeah.
I really struggle with Minnesota.
My number one difference between Minnesota and Chicago here is that I trust Marc-Andre Fleury to be good, and I don't trust Cam Talbot to repeat a career year. Because Cam Talbot is a huge reason why they were as good as they were last year. And they also just lost Ryan Suter off of a very good defensive team and replaced him with like Dmitry Kulikov and Alex Goligoski and like guys who are at the end of the line who have had very good careers and are still serviceable players.
And they got
Ryan Suter was better than all those guys.
They got worse there, but it's not like they don't have anything else. They still have the Matt Dumbas. They still have the Jared Spurgeons of the world.
They do. And like that should still be the strength of their team. But when the strength of your team gets a little bit worse, And the strength of your team also ties directly into goaltending and how hard that job is. And you have a guy who has proven in his career that he's not that great of a goaltender, that it's fair to expect a bit of a step back from them. I still think they're a playoff team. I think the Thrill is going to have a great year. I think that the kid is one of the future faces of the NHL. And I think that he's got a 90-point season in him, but does he have enough help? And I don't know that he has enough help there. And I'm not really buying the Joel Eriksson breakout.
Yeah. I mean, look, this not putting them behind Chicago is more about Chicago for me than it is Minnesota.
And it is for me too. And because I like what Chicago, I like where Chicago's headed. I like what Chicago got going on.
There's just so many question marks for me on their defense in Chicago. And look, their forward core, I think, is fine. I expect Chicago's forward core to be better than Minnesota's. But I don't have faith that Fleury's going to repeat a Vezina caliber season, even if he's still a good goaltender. With Chicago's YOLO-style defense, I expect it to be, at very least, an adjustment period in the first half of the season, if not something that doesn't fit super well in general.
All right.
But
yeah, Las Vegas isn't. Vegas is not in the Central Division, man. They're not relevant to this.
Indeed, they are not.
We'll see them. It's a conversation for the postseason.
Yep. Definitely two teams likely on a crash course.
Well, those are two teams that likely finish in the
top 5.
In the top 2 of their own division, so that they can't play each other until conference finals at the earliest.
Right.
So,
but I will say
Vegas doesn't matter for today.
I will say Chicago does feel like a team that's on the right trajectory. I think they're back on the upswing a little bit here.
So for me, they add Jonathan Toews, Seth Jones, and Marc-Andre Fleury to last year's roster, which was aight.
They were fine.
They also add Kirby Dach, because you remember Dach was hurt for a lot of last season.
Sure.
I am Team Kirby Dach.
I know you're all in on Kirby
Dach.
In a
big way.
He hasn't shown the super high end in the NHL yet. And I know because of injuries and stuff like that.
With the wrist injury last year, and,
But you haven't shown it until you've shown it.
Chicago was aight last year. And I think adding Toews, and this isn't like Hall of Famer Johnny Toews. Like, this is like a 25-25 Jonathan Toews is the guy that I am expecting that they add. A 50-point guy that plays a good two-way game for them and just drops into that. And then Kirby Dach is the guy that gives them their high end. And then with Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat and Kubalik and, whatever random freaking dude that they pull out of nowhere that scores 25 goals for them this year. And Dylan Strome as a decent depth guy who can really help them on a power play because he doesn't have to skate around and do all the other hockey things. I think that that's a good forward core. It's a dangerous forward core. I like their defense way more. And I do think, has Seth Jones been bad the last couple of years? Definitely. Seth Jones, and there was something broken in Columbus where a bunch of good players stopped playing good hockey at all. Yeah. Something was up. He was also battling injuries. He's getting a fresh start. He's completely healthy for the first time in a couple of years. He's going to be rejuvenated by basically a new life. I don't think the contract plays a huge part of it, but I do think that he is going to approach this in a different way. Does he get back to the Seth Jones of 3 years ago? I think that's a big ask, but I don't think he's going to be the bottom barrel bad defenseman that he was last year. I think that he's going to be a good 50-point guy who eats a lot of minutes and maybe doesn't show the elite, but he's kind of like a better scoring Eric Johnson in his prime, where it's not elite, but it's pretty good. And I'm buying Seth Jones stock this year to be better than the last couple of years where he was on a steep decline.
My thing is, I just don't want people to jump ahead on Minnesota yet, because there is a freight train coming towards that team and a $15 million of dead cap, but that's not this season. They're not there yet.
Well, but they're young guys that are really going to push them forward into being good in the future are also not there
I
yet.
understand that, but I don't.
Tyler Johnson is the other guy I forgot
That's
they got.
such a weird one.
That's another guy that I forgot they added.
Well,
who I like as a decent depth. He's overpaid, but I like him as a player still.
I've always liked him as a player, but I do wonder how much he can actually be effective.
Oh no, a guy doesn't look great, and wasn't there a local radio host today that was dragging Nathan McKinnon for poor effort in a preseason game? Who cares?
Yeah,
it's preseason.
If you're
stop making conclusions about the preseason with veteran players.
Certainly, anyone on a contract that's more than a couple years.
Yeah, anybody that has already made the team and is not desperately fighting for something in the preseason does not matter.
Yep.
So that's where, anyway, not the point. Chicago, I like the forward core, and then Seth Jones. Look, they added Jake McCabe. You and I are both big Jake McCabe guys. I like Calvin DeHaan.
He's healthy.
Well, and so this is the big caveat with my Chicago at 3 pick here.
Yeah.
Is because Jake McCabe, injury issues. Calvin DeHaan, injury issues. Seth Jones, injury issues. There have been problems with all of those guys, and if you lose them all, you have a real bad defense again, and you have bottomed out. Yeah. Marc-Andre Fleury cannot save you from that shit. But with those guys all on the same defense, I do like their group, man. I think it's a good group of good defensemen that understand how to play their roles, and guys that have enough puck moving ability to just feed a really good forward.
Because I feel like Minnesota is already there with their I feel like Minnesota's defense,
but Chicago's forwards are better.
Yeah,
a lot better.
But I think Minnesota's defense is better.
But I don't think that the gap between the forwards is way bigger for Chicago's forwards than Minnesota's defense. And then I trust Marc-Andre Fleury way more than I do Cam Talbot. Regardless of how good those defense is, I trust Marc-Andre Fleury more than I do Cam Talbot.
I guess I don't have as much faith in Fleury as you.
I don't think Fleury's winning the Vezina again. I think he takes a step back from what happened last year. But I think he's better than he has a better year than Cam Talbot, and that's where because there's always the possibility that Cam Talbot just this is why he hasn't been an established starter.
I'm not sure. We're going to see if Chicago can play a style of hockey that can help
definitely
and work with their defense. But anyway, we can kind of start moving on here as the number 2 team. That leaves the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah,
as the Avs' biggest competition.
I would say we both have Winnipeg there.
Yeah, that one I'm not arguing on.
So we're disagreeing on order. We're going through my list here. But what's yours? What's your list of from Arizona up?
All right, so Arizona at the bottom.
Okay.
I'd probably put St. Louis at 7, Nashville at 6.
Okay.
So I would switch that on you. Dallas at 5 is good. 4, I would have Chicago, and then 3, Minnesota.
Minnesota? Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So some minor differences here.
Yeah, nothing way off from each other, really, but...
Okay, wow, we are collectively down on the Preds.
Yep.
But, again, they're also the one that I just feel the least confident in understanding.
Yeah, that...
yeah. When it comes to Winnipeg, great top 9.
If they're healthy, their top 6 competes with any top 6 in the league.
Well, and so you have, you've got Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler,
yep,
Nikolai Ehlers, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and then you start getting into what's after that.
Yeah.
You start getting into you get into Adam Lowry, Andrew Kopp.
Yeah.
You get into Paul Stasny. You get into Cole Perfetti. Does Cole Perfetti make the team? He's been given a lot of opportunities there. You know who's been really good in the preseason for them? Evgeny Svechnikov has been very, very good for them. So they've got some intrigue. And the older Svech is a guy that it just didn't work in Detroit.
Yeah.
But did they really put him in a position to succeed? I don't know that they did. And I think in a much more specific insulated role where he could kind of do what we're talking about with last night where we talked about 4th line Sampo Ranta.
Yeah.
Just skate in a straight line, use your big
Keep
body,
it as simple
hit a
as
dude,
humanly
and when you get
possible,
the puck
yeah.
on your stick, shoot that MFer because you could shoot like a wild man.
Yeah.
Go and do it, right? So I think that I really, 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 really like the Winnipeg forward core. Their top 9 is what I think is really what separates, because Lowry is a great 3C. And then you have Paul Stastny and Andrew Kopp kind of floating in your lineup somewhere. Cole Perfetti, does he make the team? Does he not make the team? He changes your offensive upside if he does.
Well, and that's an indication of a solid forward core. If you're talking about guys that he could make you better by joining the team, but you don't need him.
Yeah.
So
there's that. Defensively, like, look, Neil Pionk has been a revelation.
That trade has worked out so
Jacob
well. Jacob
Trouba trade has been comically one-sided for the Jets, in part because Neil Pionk has been great, but also because they used that pick on Ville Heinola, who looks like he's once again very, very close to NHL ready. This year, however, the need for Ville Heinola in the NHL does not have the same punch because Josh Morrissey, Neil Pionk, newcomers Brendan Dillon and Nate Schmidt. You've got Dylan DeMello still there. That defense is now...
It's deep. It's deep.
It's now lacking the high end, but it's also lacking the really, really low end.
And that was my one hang-up with Winnipeg is how much can they really get out of Josh Morrissey?
He's a really important guy for them because Josh Morrissey next to Jacob Trouba in Trouba's last year, that was the last time either of them were any good.
Yep. So
Jacob Trouba, Christian Vesalainen has been. Can Christian Vesalainen take any step in the NHL? Is he part of that or not? Because if he does, then the need for Perfetti is nowhere near the same.
But
true. If Vesalainen's not any good at all, then Perfetti becomes a much different part of their equation, their math. So I think that the Jets defense I really like a lot better. It's much deeper. It lacks the really high end, but it's no longer, oh, look at that third pairing that we're going to cave in tonight. And then you get to goaltending, and Connor Hellebuyck is among the 3 best goaltenders in the NHL. Yeah. Their biggest problem here. Name their backup.
It's not Brossoit anymore. That's
Who's
all
in
I know.
Vegas?
Yeah, I don't know who their backup is.
Anybody know who their backup is? It's Eric Comrie.
No, that's not a
with
good,
9
that's
NHL
bad.
games played.
Yeah,
it's Eric Comrie. Is anybody feeling good about Eric Comrie as the backup? Does Connor Hellebuyck has to play 65 games for them? And you just pray that you can go 500 in Comrie's games.
Yep. That's tough. It puts such a handicap on you in the regular season to do that to yourself.
Well, and then you run Hellebuyck into the ground during the regular season. You get to the postseason. All right, great. This is your biggest ace in the hole in any series is going to be Connor Hellebuyck. Well, and you tired him out just to get here.
And Hellebuyck is a goaltender that's going to go to the Olympics. So it's not like he's going to get that month off after going ham in the NHL.
A great point. He's going to be USA's number 1 goaltender.
Yeah.
And if he's not, then USA gets what they deserve.
True.
When Team Canada drops 11 on them because they put John Gibson in net, they will have earned that. Yeah. And the backup to Eric Comrie is Mikhail Burden.
Nope.
Who is most famous for kicking a puck. Not stopping one. Kicking one. It was awesome. But that's his career highlight in North America is the time he kicked the puck.
So what I'm hearing is the Winnipeg Jets are about to claim Aaron Dell.
It would be a very, very, very interesting move if they decided to claim Dell and have a Comrie Burden in
the AHL.
In the AHL with the Moose.
With the Moose, yeah. That's whew.
So Connor, this is where Connor Hellebuyck's now playing your back-to-backs.
Yep.
Connor Hellebuyck is playing all of your division games. He's doing you are only playing Eric Comrie on the 5th game of a 5-game road trip, and then your first game back home. Like,
start penciling in those games against Arizona for Comrie.
Oh, straight up. Any Arizona games. Oh, yep, Comrie. Put him in there. Those are the games, the scheduled losses, just throw Comrie in net. That's when Bucky gets a night off.
Yep.
But otherwise, the Jets should be for real this year. They should be a real pain in the ass.
Yeah. I have them at 2, pretty clean cut ahead of Minnesota or Chicago, whichever one you like.
I've got in the gap here, so I've got Chicago at 3, and then I've got St. Louis at 6.
Those are the big jumps.
The gap that I have between those is not big.
Sure.
I think there's a bigger gap, Arizona to Nashville, than there is
anywhere else in the division.
St. Louis to Winnipeg, and then I think Colorado is your clear cut. If there's going to be a 100-point team in this division, it's Colorado, and it's only Colorado, in my opinion. I don't think the other teams are good enough to be 100-point teams. I think it's a division where you could end up with 110 and then 98, 97, 96, 95, 95, 95, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
7 teams within 7 points.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a bloodbath in the last week where you're just like, yes, this is amazing. Because the Avs have clinched and they're just cruising.
Yep. Yeah,
so that's where I am with the division.
All right. That's good news for the Avs, I suppose, then. But it's
yes and no, because I think that the weak division hurt them a little bit last year. I think it made it easier for them to get a little psychologically comfortable.
Yeah. This division isn't as weak as that division was.
No. And I do think that they're going to be they're going to be more battle tested than they were going into the postseason last year.
Yep. So
because you remember, like, they had 8 games against Vegas. Like 6 of them were goofy.
Yeah,
like it was like
coming
COVID
off
breaks
COVID
and like Tahoe and like
everyone important is injured on both sides.
Exactly. Like it's like B squads and blah 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 blah. Right.
Yep.
Oh wow, a goaltender had a shutout on a preseason game. Well, clearly he's on his way to a great year. Again, we're talking about drawing conclusions off of preseason results.
Yeah,
they are irrelevant. Every year, this gets proven time and time and time again. They are irrelevant.
If you want to find out how the Avs compensate for losing Saad, tune into our season preview over the next couple of days because we're covering more forwards.
That should be Friday's video.
Yep, the second line will be Friday's video. Yep. So there you go. Keep it tuned in to the DNVR YouTube channel. Be sure and like and subscribe to the video. We appreciate all of y'all hanging out with us live in the chat. Always happy to talk to you guys.
Even if I'm telling you preseason doesn't matter and you ascribe meaning to preseason, it's always good to hang out with everybody.
Yep. Always happy to talk.
Jared Bednar was on the longest heater ever. Because you remember because he was coaching in Lake Erie.
Yep.
And they won like 18 games in a row.
Yep.
To go on and win the Calder Cup. And then he showed up in Colorado. They won all of their rookie showcase games.
All of their preseason
and then
games.
They won all their preseason games.
And then they were like 9-9 through
yeah,
the first
and then they
something.
finally did lose a game in the regular season, but like Jared Bednar was like, I haven't lost a game in like 6 months, and then he lost 60 games that year.
Yep.
60 games that year.
Yeah. It blew up quick. So anyway, we appreciate all y'all. Yeah. Not the same teams over and over is going to help.
Yeah, it was
the San Jose Sharks 4 times in a row.
Well, the St. Louis, Arizona last year.
Yeah, they played just a 7-game series in the middle of the season
because all of the COVID teams around them
were out for 2 weeks.
It was Minnesota, and Colorado, and Vegas, and not Dallas. The Sharks had like the weird thing where they like couldn't go home.
Yeah, they couldn't play in their own building.
Yeah, and so like there was all these weird scheduling quirks, and they just ended up with 7 games in a row.
Yeah,
because it was like, you 2 teams are healthy. You guys seem to be okay. Just keep playing each other, okay? Just keep playing each other. It's fine. And everybody was like, this is not fine. This is awful.
Well,
a February playoff series is bad for everybody.
Yeah, no more of that. Thankfully,
especially between 2 shitty teams.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, look, but hey, they both have the honor of getting beaten by the Avs in consecutive playoff years.
Yeah,
so.
they got waxed.
Mm-hmm.
The only playoff win between those two teams came on the second night of a back-to-back, in which Colorado's backup goaltender played.
Yep. So, good luck with that, Arizona and St. Louis. We are out of here. Appreciate you all. Hope to see you on tomorrow's show. Be sure to check out the previews. They're going at 1:30 p.m. Mountain every day, and then we'll follow up with shows, unless we're doing post games. But
yeah, and so far right now, I would say probably not planning on post game tomorrow because we don't know if we're going to be able to see it. So
we'll have a post game Saturday, or at least I'm planning to, because I'm planning to go to the game.
Yeah.
So we will have seen what happens.
Yeah.
In that game.
I'm planning on also being at the game Saturday.
So we'll have a post game Saturday. Tomorrow, whatever happens, happens. But we love you all. We'll talk to you next time.